All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to your Everything College Football Podcast. Today, me and Nick are breaking down a bowl game between Ohio and Jacksonville State, the Cure Bowl, live from Orlando, Friday, December 20th, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Both of these teams won their respective conference championship games. 3-point favorites are the Bobcats. 54.5 is the total. Getting things started with the Ohio offense against this JSU defense. It's a really good Ohio offense. This is a team that we thought would probably struggle in their MAC title game win against Miami of Ohio, and they blasted them. Almost 500 yards of offense, 6.5 yards per play. Had 230-plus passing and rushing. I mean, the offense was on fire, and we're accustomed to seeing this, right? They've done that a lot since that first game against Miami of Ohio. They've been very good against some weaker opponents, and that's kind of why we figured they'd struggle again. But they rode that hot wave, and that momentum has continued. 230-plus rushing in 5 of the last 6 games. I mean, this is such a good offense. Anthony Tyus at running back, 1,100 rushing and 9 scores. And then you have Parker Navarro at quarterback, 935 and 15 touchdowns. Ricky Hunt as number 2 will occasionally get involved. Not much there. Navarro, though, throwing 10 picks, only about 66% comp rate. It's good, 180 yards per game. And they only have about one option in Coleman Owen, who's a very good pass catcher, 1,100 yards for him as well. And then 8 touchdowns. And then Chase Hendricks played a big role in that game in Detroit. This is a pretty good offense, Nick, for not having that many options. It's really just Navarro at quarterback, Tyus at running back, and Owen to complete that 3-headed monster. And of course, a nice physical offensive line. Really impressive stuff here going up against a defense that is all right, not as great, giving up over 25 points per game. And they're going to be down a handful of starters, it appears, who are transferring out. What do you make of this offense that completely shocked us with their performance over in Ford Field?
I like what this offense can do. This is a very good offense, nearly 30 points per game. And I really didn't think they'd put up 38 points against a Miami defense that I was really confident in. And they really blitzed them. They came out quickly. I think they were up 21-0 at one point. Might have been 28-0 at one point. And they were scoring a lot of points. They've been scoring a lot of points as of late. Over their past 5 games, their lowest point total in a game was 24-7. Went over Toledo, where they really kind of just coasting with a big lead. They put up 41 and 42 against Ball State and Kent State, while also scoring 35 against Eastern Michigan, 30 against Miami, Ohio. So they can score a lot of points. This is an offense that can really hit you over and over again very quickly, and it's led by Parker Navarro, who's been good at times this season. 65% comp rate, 2,100 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 10 picks. But for this offense is more about running the ball. They're very effective on the ground. 211 yards per game rushing, 5.2 yards per carry, and 2.5 rushing touchdowns per game. Anthony Tyus has been incredible to watch. 1,100 yards rushing, 5.3 yards per carry, 9 scores. Also has a receiving touchdown, while Navarro has 6.4 yards per carry, 15 scores on the ground, 935. He scored in the MAC title game. He's looked really good this year. Nick Pius has been solid as well in his limited attempts, while Ricky Hunt's not a bad number 2 back further down the depth chart. This offense, they're going to run the ball, they're going to shoot clock, they're going to attack you on the ground. Coleman Owen's a great receiver to watch, probably going to be your big target for this team, 1,100 yards receiving for him and 8 touchdowns, while Chase Hendricks is not bad, and Mason Williams, a tight end, has been okay at times this season. He has 2 receiving touchdowns, about 200 yards receiving overall. This is a good matchup for this Ohio offense that is facing against a defense for Jacksonville State that's going to be missing some pieces potentially. A lot of questions about opt-outs, who's going to be playing in this game. Some decent pieces in the secondary could potentially not be playing, and that could really cause big problems for Jacksonville State.
Yeah, this is a defense that's 95th against the run. J-Rock Swain's a beast of a defensive lineman, but Reginald Hughes coming off the edge. He's not going to be playing in this game. Some of the other guys for them up front, though, are going to be key pieces. Juwan Campbell, Darryl Prather, Ricky Samuel, Talon Carter. Those guys will be playing in the middle of this defense. They're going to have guys like Antonio Carter, who's been a great safety for them, step up. Latia Hell, he'll be the only returning linebacker because it's really just been 2 guys for the most part of this season. Carter does play a lot of box safety, though. For the secondary, though, looks like they're going to be down, 3 of their top 4 corners. Jameer Latimer, he's going to play, but Jamari Mack, Fred Davis, and Derek Carter, these guys are all in the portal, so they're likely not going to. And again, this isn't the toughest of passing attacks to defend, but experience is key. I think that's certainly going to be a big problem. And those guys are pretty good at being run defenders in that secondary. It's Jacksonville State defense, though I kind of alluded to how they haven't been really perfect against the run, especially down the stretch. They're winning football games, and the run defense really hasn't costed them at all. They faced a similar style attack at Liberty, though, and they gave up 273 rushing. They had issues early on in the year on defense before they really settled down. But this defense is far from perfect, Nick. I wouldn't exactly call it a great unit. Last year they had a phenomenal defense, but this year they took a big step back, and without some of their top key contributors, the top three tackle for loss guys, looks like they're not going to play. So I'm very concerned about this defense's ability to get stops, but they're going to play a tough game regardless.
Red flags are certainly waving about this defense. I do worry about missing some of the key pieces. They're not been great against the run like you've been alluding to, which could certainly be an issue for this team. Although there are some solid players. I want to highlight Antonio Carter, a really good safety who plays in the box, a linebacker that's very flexible, a really solid player that you can move him around. 103 total tackles, 5 tackles for loss, a pick, and 3 pass breakups for him. Latia Hale's been really good as well as a true linebacker. 75 total tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, 3 pass breakups for him. Latimer's been good as well. 42 total tackles, 5 pass breakups. J-Rock Swain, 41 total tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. While Jawan Campbell has been good as well. 39 total tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 2 sacks for him, and 2 pass breakups. Ricky Samuel's been okay, 23 total tackles. I worry about this defense. They're missing key pieces, and they've shown that they've been weak against the run as well. That could be a big problem for this team. I wonder what they could look like. They've had issues, 170 yards per game. I think Ohio could certainly take advantage of that and dominate on the ground in this matchup.
Above average offensive line as well for the Bobcats, led by Parker Titsworth. Moving to the JSU offense, going against the Bobcats defense. This is a team that has a 1-2 punch of their own, one that's more impressive at that. Tyler Huff has been a phenomenal quarterback for them. He wasn't the original starter at the beginning of the year. I ended up giving him the keys over Logan Smothers, and this offense really took over after that. This guy has a combined 27 touchdowns, 1,300 yards rushing, 3,500 total yards compared to only 6 interceptions. And then Trey Stewart, 1,600 plus rushing and 23 touchdowns. This is a phenomenal tandem. He had 200 plus in the conference title game. 3 times this year he's eclipsed that number. This is a workhorse of a back, though. He's eclipsed more than 20 carries in every game over the last 2 months. Yeah, it's going to be a great 1-2 punch from them. Smothers is a capable runner if he gets on the field, but he's pretty bad at passing the football. So they have a great 1-2 punch of their own. Guys like Cam Vaughn, Michael Petway, 400-plus yard receivers there, combined 7 touchdowns. This offense is just as good. They score more points. Of course, they play weaker defenses compared to the MAC, I would say. Ohio, they've certainly played teams like Kent State and whatnot, but I think in terms of physicality, Ohio's seen a little bit more than maybe JSU has. Pretty good offensive line as well for the Gamecocks, going up against a great defense. 17.5 points per game allowed, top 10 in yards per game. They have 31 sacks, and the biggest news for them is no one's in the portal on either side of the ball. Bradley Weather, Ben McNabboo, Marcel Walker-Burgess, some of their top linemen, CJ Doggett. This is a team that's pretty prideful, Nick. I know Tim Albin departed, but he's leaving behind some really good players that are going to play in this bowl game. Cam Rice as well. You have a nice linebacker in Shea Taylor, has 10 tackles for loss. This is a very good front seven, Nick. These guys are going to play very hard. Neither team has really seen this tough of a matchup all year, though. Do you think they'll be phased at all?
I think this is certainly an interesting matchup when you look at it from that perspective. Is this an offense for JSU that has some really talented pieces that look to be playing in this game? This is a quarterback room that is very interesting at times so far this season. Huff has been good since taking over for Smothers. 6% comp rate, 2,100 yards passing, 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Good enough for that conference, good enough for that level, a serviceable quarterback. Also, his weapons on the ground makes him a great quarterback for this system. 1,300 yards rushing, 6.2 yards per attempt, 14 scores, 103.3 yards per game. Really great numbers there. Trey Stewart is just an incredible back to watch, really worth watching. 1,600 yards rushing, 6.1 yards per attempt, and 23 touchdowns for him, 123.4 yards per game. A guy that's on the field a lot, a guy that's been really good for this team, a good leader. Smothers, when he gets involved as well, on the ground is not bad. The receiving core has some decent pieces in Cam Vaughn and Michael Petway, who are 2 solid guys for this team. Petway, 18.2 yards for grab, 3 scores for him. Vaughn, 16 yards for grab, and 4 scores for them. A combined 1,000 yards receiving between the 2 of them. This team, they like to run the ball. Very effective Jacksonville State offense on the ground. 267.3 yards per game, 5.7 yards per attempt, and 3.7 touchdowns per game. They score a lot of points, 36.7 points per game. Very, very impressive number there. As for this Ohio defense, they play with a lot of pride, a lot of talented pieces that are playing in this game. Blake Lackey's been really good for this team. 81 total tackles, 3 tackles for loss. Shea Taylor at linebacker, 68 total tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, a pick, and which took for a touchdown, and 4 pass breakups. Roman Party has been solid as well. 48 total tackles, 1 pick, 10 pass breakups for him. Tank Pearson, 43 total tackles, and 6 pass breakups for him as well in the secondary. So this is a good Ohio defense. Like I rattled off the scores earlier. They're playing a lot better as of late, giving up 3 points to Miami, Ohio, 7 to Toledo, 10 to Eastern Michigan, and 0 to Kent State, while giving up 21 to Ball State in what was a blowout with Ball State playing from behind. I like this defense a lot for Ohio. They're playing at full strength. They're really good. Weaver's a really good piece as well with the 8 sacks there. Strong unit overall going against a good offense from Jacksonville State that can really score at a high click, top 15 team in the nation in terms of scoring.
Real good Gamecocks O-line. Left tackle Will Osteen is a beast. And then, I think him and Weaver going at it. There'll be some scouts paying attention to that one. You alluded to Tank Pearson, 4 picks and 6 more pass breakups. Pretty good corner there in coverage. Undersized, though, 5'9", 178. He's a poor tackler. I think they're going to look to attack him again in the run game toward the boundary. Overall, though, this is a team that, again, everyone's playing, so that's great news for them. Everyone's playing for the offense on Jacksonville State as well, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any opt-outs there, so you're going to get best on best. Looking at the final thoughts, the team comparisons, the prediction for the Kier Bowl. This is a great game. We were talking about the other night, Nick, how the Kier Bowl seems to put together some fantastic matchups. I don't know how they got these two teams that both won their conference championships in blowout fashion. Cornerback, I think, is as even as it gets. I'll give the nod at running back to JSU, even though both teams, it's really just one guy toting the rock. You could probably call that even as well. Ohio, I'll give them a slight edge at receiver. Both teams, though, it's really just 2 guys catching the football. Offensive line, I think a bit of a clearer edge for JSU, but on defense, Ohio's going to get the nod in every regard. Even if they were at full strength, the Gamecocks, I think Ohio's just that much better on this side of the ball. Pretty prideful defense. They've been lights out all year long. I think ultimately this game's going to come down to who's more physical, Nick. That's just sometimes how it goes, and we don't know who's going to be the more physical football team in the trenches until game day. I think Ohio's going to be that team, though. I think their defense is going to be a little bit more stout, and I think they'll figure it out a little bit more on offense against a bit of a watered-down defense due to some of those opt-outs, especially in the secondary. 28-24 from the both of us. This should be a good one, though, but sometimes in these 10-win matchups, they tend to be blowouts for some reason in bowl season. Do you see that being a possibility, Nick? Because I don't.
I think it's going to be a close game. The Kier Bowl the last couple of years has been really solid. Last year, App State beat Miami, Ohio. It was a terrible weather game, awful weather in that one. App State won 13-9. And then the one in 2022 is the one that I think about a lot. Number 23 in the nation, Troy, beat UTSA 18-12. That UTSA team was a really fun offense. Troy had a phenomenal defense with some really good linebackers. That was a great battle of good defenses. And then the 2 prior matchups in 2020 and 2021, Liberty outlasted Coastal Carolina in an overtime shootout, 37-34. Number 9 in the nation, Coastal Carolina, by the way. And then in 2021, Coastal Carolina got their bowl win, winning 47-41 over Northern Illinois. So we've seen some blowout. We've seen some large, high-scoring games. Seen some closer ones, some defensive ones the last 2 years. I'm expecting a defensive matchup here. You and I both, think it will be a lower scoring game. These are 2 good offenses, but I just think this Ohio defense is a lot better, and they're going to get those big stops they need late in the game to kind of kneel this one out, get the one done, and get a good win for this Ohio team. 2 interim coaches, 2 teams that won their conference, 2 teams that coaches went and took different jobs. A lot of storylines here. This Ohio team's fun to watch. Parker Navarro is extremely fun to watch. I'm keeping my eye on him, while also worth watching Jacksonville State's running back, who is Trey Stewart, who is a phenomenal back and really good on the ground. Definitely going to tune in this one on Friday. I think this is a really good matchup between 2 exciting teams. Worth watching that noon slate. Maybe you watch it at work on your laptop and change the tabs quickly when your boss walks by, something like that. But I'm excited for this game. A good Kier Bowl going down in Florida. I like this matchup a lot, but I'll take the Bobcats here.
Yeah, this should be a good game to get your Friday started. It will conclude with a CFP first-round matchup going down at 8 o'clock. That's going to be it for today's episode. If you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.